First and foremost, there's no recognizable sport we play. There is no distinction between skill development and fun. People ask me all the time, even when they hear the word multi-sport, so then they assume, okay, 1 week is basketball, 1 week is baseball, 1 week is soccer. And the truth is, no, we play games like Fireball. We play games like called Guardian. We play a game called Playmaker and a game called Rush. And we play sports we've invented. You shouldn't be simply doing the same sports skill over and over again. You shouldn't be in the same environment over and over again, because that's the same confidence you're building. You know, I want kids doing more. And the problem is when you specialize, you do less. Hi, I'm Brody Richards. I'm founder of Ballhawks here in Guelph, Ontario. I grew up in the GTA. I started out as an academic. I came to Guelph to do a PhD at the University of Guelph in history, and I worked at the university for a time. And then after I left the academic world, I became an entrepreneur in various different avenues and fields. And my most recent project that I started about 4 years ago is to build a new kind of sports program called Ballhawks that emphasizes free play, co-creation by kids, unstructured play. We do things a little differently here at Ballhawks, and we're really excited about what we can bring, to parents and kids in a different kind of sports experience. I mean, there's never one cause to why something becomes specialized or why, sports has become the way they are. But I think probably one of the biggest contributing factors is, parents want their kids to succeed. And I know that we tell a lot of jokes, or we say a lot of times that parents want to get their kids to become professionals, or there's the idea that their kid is going to make it to the show. And I don't think that's true. The majority of parents don't have that vision for their kid. But what they do want to see is their kid having success.
It's fun. It's not as structured. Like Brody has the structure for them, but they don't have to get too structured in a way. It's just let's just play games.
Specializing creates short-term results, and that makes everybody happy.
We don't have a team name, you don't have a uniform, you don't have practice on this day, and we're not traveling here. It's really just play. So I think that's what's important.
It's harder to see long-term effects. And so I think one of the reasons that sports specialization has happened is that by concentrating and giving your kid all kinds of private instruction, all that focus enables them to have some short-term success, and they get happy and you get happy watching them be happy. And no one really knows what the impact is 5-10 years down the line, because you can't see that impact. But what you can see is your kid performing better in that specific sport by specializing. Every given week, we have what's called our playlist. And it's the 4 or 5 games we're playing that week that are working on mobility, teamwork. So we don't play basketball, but we play invasion games that teach you all the skills you need to know about basketball and spacing. And we don't play baseball, but we do a lot of throwing. We play a lot of dodgeball. We very much allow kids to co-create the space. They tell us if they love a game. They tell us if they don't love a game. Each week we make new teams. Everyone wins and everyone loses every given week. And we make sure that both of those things are happening on a regular basis. So they're learning both of those skills: how to win, how to lose, how to compete. Some games, it's also a competition against one another. Sometimes it's a competition against the coaches. Sometimes it's a competition against a timer. There's all sorts of different ways we introduce competition too. It's never one particular way. Watch out, E, watch out, E. He's throwing again. Let's go, forward. Attack, attack. Attack like your life depends on it, because it does.
What has Brody helped you with the most?
I think teamwork. Yeah, I've gotten better at throwing. Mainly teamwork and passing. I've gotten better teamwork for like football. I just think that sometimes when we lose a lot, he always just comes on our team and then we win. Like, I play baseball. It's helped me with lots of throwing. Yeah, it's actually gotten me better at playing soccer because we do a lot of games. And I'm getting better with my footwork.
What do you notice that Brody does differently than your baseball coaches?
Well, I'd say he's a lot more funnier. He actually has a sense of humor. He's a lot more fun, plays more games, and funnier.
Well, we really like to play fun games and run around.
At some point, it makes no sense for kids at certain ages to be playing 5 versus 5. One kid probably doesn't touch the ball very much. It doesn't make a lot of sense at youth baseball to have outfielders sometimes. At certain age groups, why have outfielders? The ball never goes there. So why are we playing with 9 versus 9? Small-sided games are designed to allow for more customization, to allow for you to introduce new rules in smaller spaces, smaller field sizes, a different kind of ball, and it allows for a lot of creativity. But then it also allows kids a lot of creativity because they are touching the ball more often and more involved in the play.
What's different about dodgeball more than normal dodgeball?
There's no sides, and there's things that you can hide behind. Dodgeball wolf.
Dodgeball, but we don't have limits on where we can go as long as we stay in the gym.
There's also teams.
And we have obstacles to hide behind. And in Dodgeball War, you have a doctor.
What else? That's all I remember.
You can go anywhere and you just try to hit people with dodgeballs, and then there's a doctor that can get people up.
What is floorball?
It's when there's a ball on the floor.
Floor hockey, but instead of using your sticks, you have arms.
Floorball, hit in the net.
It's a big ball, you can't pick it up. You can like slap it and move it around with your hands on the floor.
Can you explain the rules of Rush?
Rush, it's where, so there are 2 teams. You both have 2 hexagon houses. And that, I just call them houses, but I don't really know what they are.
So what you do is one team starts with the ball. Object of the game is to get the other team's huts to be destroyed.
If you have the ball and one player on the other team tags you, they get the ball in that spot. And you can't tag them until play goes on. It's like a free kick in soccer.
The first time I can remember being really nervous when Felix came for the first time, being like, oh God, like he's so emotional. He gets so upset if he doesn't win, or he gets so like down on himself. And he does still have those tendencies. Like some of that is just part of who he is.
So Felix came to us. He was one of our very first athletes in our program right after post-COVID, when we had only 6 kids we could take at a time. And Felix was one of the original 6. He was 5 years old. Co-regulation is so critical for kids. When kids are dealing with stress and their various big emotions, they need a calm presence to borrow from.
One of the huge factors is that he lets kids have emotions and doesn't bring attention to them. Felix cried a lot when we started because if he wasn't winning, he was crying. He was pretty young when we started. He didn't tell him not to have those emotions or not to do this or not to do that. But when it was an overreaction to something, he just let him feel it, but let him feel it to the side. When you're ready to join, he'll consistently come back around and be like, you ready to join yet, Felix?
Too often parents become correctors. They're instantly telling their kid why that game went a certain way, or they're trying to give them tips. And it's like what they need first is co-regulation.
Without, I think, Brody's guidance in how to deal with The competition aspect, I don't know that we would even opt to have Felix in a sport.
What's your name?
Felix,
Felix. How long have you been working with Brody?
4 or 5 years. Sometimes just one bad play goes wrong. It kind of affects the rest of the game. So I've been getting better at that as I've been here along the 3 years. So yeah, it's helped me improve.
You might have won the first game of the session, but you lost the second game. You won the third game. At the end of the session, the week's over. When you come back the next week, it's all a fresh slate. We don't have standings. And I think that that's where kids like Felix can really benefit from these kinds of micro competitions where it's not something where you're adding up over time.
We would say things like, you know, don't cry and don't freak out. It's fine. This is just a game. And I can remember one time Brody saying to us, it's not fair to tell him, you know, not to get emotional or not to cry, or that it's not a big deal, because it is a really big deal to him. No one had ever told me that before. As soon as he said it, I was like, why do I care so much, right? He was like, this is Felix's everyday stuff. Like, he thinks that this game is the most important thing right now. So it's okay to feel those emotions. We're gonna teach him how to bounce back from them. I think that was my first light into being like, oh, this is a different coach and a different coaching style.
So there's an awful lot to free play. It's the model that we can think about as video games. When a kid gets a new video game, he doesn't go to video game class. He doesn't get a video game instructor. His parents don't put him in an after-school program to teach him this video game. He learns it by playing it. When he gets in trouble, he asks his friends. And his friends, you know, they're often playing the same game. They share tips and tricks. The kid learns the game through his own problem solving and becomes very good at it. We don't allow kids to learn like that in other environments. And then we wonder why they love video games and they don't necessarily love hockey practice, or they don't love dance class, or they don't love something else that is far more structured with an adult telling them what to do. So they need free play. We have finished basements now. I mean, I grew up in a house where I was allowed to go downstairs and beat up the basement with hockey pucks and baseballs. Some of that free play, some of that freedom, some of that creativity, some of that diversification of movement, we've taken away from kids by removing the time and the space to play with the friends, to invent their own sports, to do it that way like we did growing up. Play games, make it a game. Everything should be some form of gamification. And then the kids are absolutely having fun, but they're developing sports skills. The last thing a kid needs is a coach standing there, correcting them and instructing them and giving them a lecture about how to move, how to play, and what to do. There is far too much talking in most youth sports. At any given practice, there is a coach who's doing way too much talking. The environment needs to teach.